Thank you so much for holding this meeting and providing the opportunity for so many of us to speak our minds. My name is Abby Kinchy, and I live in Troy in the Freer Park neighborhood. I'm a sociology professor at RPI, but I'm here today not as an expert or as a member of any organization. I'm speaking as a concerned citizen and as someone who loves this city. I moved to Troy with my husband in 2007. We knew we would like Troy the very first time we explored downtown. And over the years, we've put our roots down here. Our son was born at St. Mary's, and he's now in kindergarten at School 14. And it's exciting for me to see the economic and cultural revitalization that's happening in this city. So I speak tonight out of hope and optimism for the future here. I've never gotten involved in policing issues before, but about 2 weeks ago, when I watched the cell phone and security video of Troy police officers beating a patron of Kokopelli's, I was deeply unsettled by it. Unfortunately, nothing I've heard or seen since then has alleviated my unease about what happened to Rashawn Donnelly. In the surveillance video, it's very clear from what I've seen that Mr. Donnelly posed no threat to anyone. So I have to ask, and I keep asking to everyone who will listen to me, why did the police beat him so brutally, leaving him with injuries in the head? We've been told that the actions were justified because the street outside the bar was in chaos and people were fighting, and I can understand how stressful it must have been for the officers to deal with that situation. And I was very sorry to hear that officers were injured that night. But again, looking at the security video, it's quite plain that Mr. Donnelly was not part of that fight, and that the situation inside the bar was pretty calm and under control up until the point the police started beating him with batons. So the justification that we've been given just doesn't make sense to me. I've heard some people say that the officers who beat Mr. Donnelly simply made a mistake and we shouldn't make a big deal about it. That hasn't been said here, but I've heard that, in conversations online around town. And of course, we all make mistakes. But as I always tell my son, what matters is how we fix them. Mistakes have consequences. And we have to do all that we can to make things right. If our city leaders send the police department the message that beating people with batons is an appropriate, approved policing practice, then this will be repeated again and again. I don't want to raise my son in a city that treats police violence so casually. If this is an approved use of force, then I think we need to change the policy. Now, I was very pleased to hear that Police Chief Tedesco is open to having an external investigation of the Donnelly beating. And I wish to add to the chorus of voices demanding this. I think that without an external probe, transparency, and good corrective actions, it's hard to imagine how the Troy Police Department will ever regain the public's trust and respect. Now, I understand that there have been long-standing concerns about safety on 4th Street, on the block where Kokopelli's is located. And I think this is a sign that existing policing strategies are not working for anyone. Not for residents, not for businesses, not for patrons, and not for the police. My hope is that we can start an investigation that goes well beyond what happened just that night at Kokopelli's to look more broadly at the policies, practices, leadership, and culture of our police department. After the Kokopelli's, now I have to say that after the Kokopelli's incident, I heard a lot of white community members, business owners, and professionals like myself comment that they've always had good experiences with the Troy police. I too have had good experiences with law enforcement. In fact, I live across the street from a state trooper. A judge lives next door to me. They're wonderful neighbors, and I've never had a run-in with Troy police, right? So I'm not speaking from personal grievances, but I know very well that I am privileged and that my experience is not universal, and my experience is not the only one that matters here. So I was here last week at the first part of this meeting, and I heard people of color express their fear and distrust of police. And I heard longstanding frustration, sadness, and anger about racial inequality in this city. And I came to see more intensely than ever that we are a divided city, and I think we're hearing a lot of that tonight. I think that means it's time to listen carefully to the voices of our neighbors, of our poor neighbors, our African American neighbors, and it's time to create a police force that protects and serves all of us. Now, of course, the problems we're facing are not unique to Troy. There is extensive research demonstrating racial inequality in the criminal justice system, from stops and arrests to convictions and sentencing. This is a national problem. Nevertheless, it's a problem that we have to solve locally, just like every other city in the United States. And the good news, the good side of that, is that we're not alone in this, right? We can look to other cities for models about how to bring about change. So I'm not an expert on police reform, but speaking from my conscience, here's what I would like to see. We should strive to have a police force that works in partnership with our communities to solve problems and build trust. We need a police force that truly represents and respects the diversity of our Troy communities. We need police officers who are trained in nonviolent crisis intervention. And we need our city leaders to take appropriate and decisive action whenever police officers abuse their power or violate public standards of decency. One possible good first step would be to fully empower the Police Objective Review Committee to review the actions of the police and to take corrective actions. So I hope that the mayor and the city council will seize this moment to do something really transformative for this incredible city. At this time of economic and cultural revitalization, we must also address questions of safety and law enforcement in new and creative ways. We can do something truly amazing here. So I urge you to continue to listen carefully to Troy citizens about how to reform our police department to make this a more livable city for all of its residents in all of our neighborhoods. Thank you.